Welcome back. Now, it's not a comfortable subject, but our next guest is talking about pornography and specifically how extreme, violent and misogynistic material is available online and warping young people's attitudes to sex. A major review of the industry was commissioned by Rishi Sunak and then led by the Conservative Baroness Gabby Bertin, and it proposed giving the regulator Ofcom the power to police porn sites with harmful material. I spoke to Gabby Bertin earlier. Thank you so much for coming on the programme. So you've done an awful lot of work looking into online pornography and its impacts, and you're calling for some changes. That's right, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, the review that lasted for over a year really highlighted how much abusive, violent, misogynistic, degrading content is available online, and that's content that would not be allowed offline. So there's this huge lack of parity between the offline world and the online world. And furthermore, what we discovered was that it's having a real effect on how people are behaving. The recommendations, there's over 32 recommendations, they're wide-ranging, but the key recommendations are trying to bring that equality between what is not allowed offline for very good reason, it's been in place for a long time, and making sure that those same restrictions are in place offline.
Now, it's a really hard thing to talk about, particularly on TV, probably to listen to at home as well. But I think it is quite important to be clear about what we're talking about here, because you're not saying pornography should be banned. That's not what you're saying. But you're talking about basically abusive pornography.
Yeah, I mean, look, I approach this review. I'm not remotely prudish. It's not a sort of all pornography's bad, far from it. It's a realistic approach saying, look, we now have a quarter of the nation watches pornography online. That's 13.8 million people every month log on, watch pornography. It's at a scale that's huge. This is not niche. And I went on last night to have a look, I'm afraid, because that's my job. And some of the content that you can easily get on legal sites, women really being beaten up. There's a huge amount of content that is just a proxy for child sexual abuse. You know, titles that absolutely are horrifying. It's actually too much to even say on this programme.
You see, this is the thing, we can't actually say it on here, but like you say, this is abusive, clearly sort of non-consensual or acting non-consensual.
Exactly, and the review was given a whole load of evidence where 1 in 8 titles on many of these sites, and it's social media as well, it's not just pornography sites, no reasonable person can infer that it wasn't violent content. You can still search up kidnap porn, destroy, and you get content that is women trussed up. It's just women being beaten up. It's completely unacceptable.
And you believe, or you have evidence to show that this is having an impact offline as well, in people's relationships and how people are acting.
Yeah. I mean, some of the really shocking statistics on this is that one report showed that 38% of young women who are sexually active have been choked. And there's now a sort of social norm around choking sex, which is why one of the big recommendations is saying that we absolutely must make strangulation pornography illegal. It should go into the 100% illegal pornography box. And, I think the government needs to act very, very quickly on that.
Because this is the key, isn't it? You're saying that the government needs to do something, and I was interested to hear that you are hot-footing it from the studio to go meet Peter Kyle, the cabinet member, about this. Well, what are you going to say? I'm
going to say that I've been in government, and what I've come up with these recommendations is something that is completely workable, implementable, and, my proposals are that you upgrade, if you like, the Online Safety Act, and you put a very simple code which essentially replicates what the BBFC, the British Film Classification Board, does with sex DVDs, which frankly no one is watching anymore, but they have a very sort of clear guidelines. You can't have material that encourages child sexual abuse. You can't have material that is degrading, humiliating, non-consensual. The list is very sensible and very well established. And I'm saying that list should be enshrined in law and should apply to online platforms.
Now, as you mentioned, Gabby, you've been in Westminster for a while, right? You know how all this works. What's your sense on where the government's head's at?
Well, look, we've had we have some great people in government. You know, I'm a Tory peer, but I'm totally cross-party on this. You've got Jess Phillips, you've got Alex Davis-Jones. I believe that the government wants to, well, to not least meet the targets that they got elected for, to try and halve violence against women and girls over the next 10 years. If they're not going to prevent this kind of content that is easily accessible, admittedly age verification will kick in, but if you're over 18, you know, whether you're 15 or 55, you should not be seeing this kind of content.
Are you worried by a wider misogynistic culture or subculture online? I mean, I'm thinking, you know, today has been a very traumatic day for many people because we've had this focus on the sentencing of Carl Clifford, who, of course, you know, killed his former partner, her sister and her mum with a crossbow in the most horrific abusive case. And he watched an Andrew Tate video before he did it.
I mean, I think people hearing that will just be so appalled. And I think, you know, the views of people like Andrew Tate are abhorrent. I think there are just no words really to describe what happened in this case. It is just so unbelievably shocking and despicable. I think the wider point I've made in the review, and I want to be very clear that I'm sort of separating that from this particular case, is that men and boys, and young boys in particular, are who have been exposed to this kind of pornography, this kind of abusive content from a young age, as young as 9, some kids are seeing this, that they have been victims as well. And I think we have to really ask ourselves, you know, why is it that people like influencers like Andrew Tate are getting such a big following? You know, what is happening in society? What are we doing to look after our young men and boys as well as our young women and girls? And I think that pitting the sexes against each other is not really the answer to getting solutions in this. And so I think we have to be very careful that we include everyone in the conversation, that we don't give power to those types of influences who are attracting, you know, horrendous numbers of people. And I think that the government needs to look at that very seriously.
Yeah, it's an important point you make about the, you know, not pitting sexes against each other. Just finally, this is obviously something that you care very deeply about, that you've done an awful lot of work on over the years. And I know that this is something that, you know, you probably don't want to talk about or might find difficult to talk about, but you have spoken before about your cousin and the impact that that's had on...
Yeah, I mean, I tragically lost my cousin to murder. It was so many years ago. I was only 8, but I think about her every single day. And, you know, whenever I hear of people losing loved ones, family members in this way, my heart goes out to them, because I'm afraid the pain doesn't ever go away. And the only thing that we can try and do, and I think gives solace, is to try and sort of bring in policies and make differences that could save lives, and that sort of has been a driver.
Yeah, it clearly spurred you on. What happened to her?
Well, she was essentially, I guess, stalked by a neighbour, and again, a reason why I feel so passionately that there is no stalking, flashing. All of these sort of so-called low-grade crimes, I'm so relieved that people are now giving them that sort of awareness that they are not. They are red flags for far more aggressive, violent behaviour. And, yeah, I mean, this guy was known to the police. I mean, it was in France, it was in the 80s, it was a long time ago, but he was on their radar. You know, in those days, very little was done. And you know, he had lots of girls that he sort of harassed, and tragically my cousin was murdered by him. And it's something that our family's never got over, really.
Yeah, well, you're clearly, you know, doing her justice by trying to make things better for the next generation of women, so thank you.
Thank you.